Chapter 49. Spider's Lair. Date 33,480. Second quarter, Chalice Theocracy. The second dungeon smelled like a grave that had learned to breathe. The air was thick with damp and spores, a cloying humidity that made each breath feel like swallowing mold. Water dripped in slow, constant rhythm from stalactites splattering across uneven stone. Every surface was slick. The walls pulsed faintly with a greenish glow from the fungi clinging to them, shedding spores that swirled like fine ash with each step.
Gods, I can taste it.
He covered his mouth with his sleeve and coughed. His lungs burned.
Rot. Poison. We should have expected this. Spore dungeons always try to kill you before the monsters do.
He trudged ahead, his wolfish ears pinned back, nose twitching furiously. The beastkin's sharp profile cut through the dim light, his hand resting on the hilt of his curved blade.
That's comforting.
He forced a grim smile. They pressed forward, their boots sinking into patches of soft fungus. The tunnel narrowed, forcing them shoulder to shoulder until it suddenly widened into a chamber. Threads like ropes of silk stretched across the ceiling, shimmering faintly in the fungi's glow. The coughing grew worse. Aris doubled over, spitting his throat raw. He wiped his mouth and looked up just as shadows began to move. The first spider dropped soundlessly. Its body was the size of a dog, its legs long and angular mandibles clicking. Auric didn't hesitate. His blade sang free the edge, catching what little light there was. He darted forward with surprising speed, slashing through the creature's abdomen. A burst of foul ichor splattered across the stones, stinging Aris's nostrils.
Behind you,
he cried. Another spider scuttled down the wall fast and jerking its legs, scraping stone. Aris raised his hand, breath-catching. For days he had failed in practice, but now the witness stone gave his XP back even for a day, increasing his levels with a pre-distributed Templar build. Energy surged up his arm, and suddenly 12 light missiles materialized in the air around him, each one a shard of light trembling with power. He gasped. It worked. The missiles shot forward, streaking into the spider's body. It screeched as holes burned through its chitin, curling in on itself before slumping lifeless to the ground.
12. It actually worked.
A laugh burst from his throat, ragged but real.
Don't celebrate yet.
He growled. He spun his blade, flashing as another spider lunged. With 2 swift slashes, he severed its legs, kicking it aside before driving his blade into its head. His movements were relentless, efficient, born of someone who had fought for survival long before entering an academy. Aris joined him, his confidence sparking. Another cluster of missiles flared at his side, though fewer this time, only 8, but enough. They speared through a pair of spiders climbing the ceiling, knocking them down into twitching heaps. Side by side, they fought, the chamber filling with the reek of ichor and fungus. Aris's heart pounded, but each missile he loosed steadied him.
I can do this. I'm not useless.
Minutes stretched the fight, a blur of steel and light, until silence returned, broken only by the drip of water and their own ragged breaths.
Not bad, Aris. You're keeping up.
He leaned on his blade chest, heaving. His furred ears twitched, listening.
Keeping up? I think I saved your hide twice.
He grinned, despite the sweat and slime coating him.
We'll call it even.
The wolfkin's sharp teeth flashed in a grin of his own. They pressed onward. Every breath, every chance, Aris got charging his only attack skill. The tunnels wound tighter, the silk threads growing thicker until the air seemed to vibrate with tension. Aris's stomach knotted. Something bigger was ahead. They stepped into another chamber, larger ceiling lost in darkness. The ground was covered in matted webs, sticky underfoot. Aris's skin prickled. Then the ceiling moved. A massive shape detached from the shadows, descending with horrifying grace. The spider hit the ground with a dull thud, and Aris's breath caught. It was the size of a man. Its body swelled with pulsing veins of green eyes glowing like shards of emerald. Its mandibles clicked, dripping venom that hissed as it struck the stone.
This is not a training fight. This is death.
He froze. His knees wanted to buckle. The creature lunged. Aris stumbled back, throwing up his arm, but the spider's weight slammed him to the ground. Its mandibles snapped inches from his face. He screamed, shoving against it with all his strength.
Argabot.
He roared and launched himself onto the beast's back. His blade hacked downward, biting into the carapace again and again. The spider shrieked, convulsing. One of its legs lashed out, slamming Auric against the wall. Aris scrambled free, chest burning, and saw Auric stagger up. Blood ran down his temple, but he didn't stop. He charged again, blade flashing in a desperate arc. The spider twisted mandibles, snapping. It caught him mid-swing, sinking its fangs deep into Auric's side. Auric's scream echoed through the chamber.
No.
He shouted. His hand flew up, desperation tearing through him. His insides burned, blood in his veins, burning through like coal, and once more the light surged. 25 missiles of pure radiance erupted around him, brighter than ever before. He unleashed them all. The missiles slammed into the spider, one after another, punching through its chitin. Its screech turned to a gurgle as its body shuddered under the assault. Its staggered legs twitching before collapsing in a heap, ichor oozing across the webs. The silence that followed was deafening. Aris dropped to his knees, gasping. His eyes darted to Auric. The wolfkin slumped against the wall, blood seeping from the bite wound. His skin around the punctures was already darkening, veins spreading with a sickly hue. His breaths came ragged, his teeth bared against the pain. Aris crawled to him, heart hammering.
Hold on, I can heal.
He pressed his hand to the wound, whispering the incantation for healing touch. Light flickered weakly, closing some of the torn flesh, but the darkness beneath didn't fade.
Not just bleeding. Poison. Disease. It's spreading.
He coughed, his voice hoarse but steady. Aris's stomach dropped. He remembered the textbooks, the instructors hammering it into their heads. Giant spider venom wasn't just poison, it carried infection that ate at the blood itself. His hands shook as he tried again, pouring more energy into healing touch. The wound sealed further, but the black veins kept crawling. He whispered the incantation for cure disease, but the spell sputtered, half-formed. The two magics clashed in his hands, canceling each other.
Damn it.
He slammed his fist against the stone.
Come on, come on.
Don't panic. Think. You can figure it out.
His hand caught Aris's wrist. The wolfkin's grip was still iron despite the pain. His yellow eyes locked on Aris.
I can't fail him. Not here. Not after everything.
He swallowed hard. But as he stared at the wound, at the spreading corruption, all he felt was the weight of his failure. The witness stone and blood initiate had given him power 25 light missiles, enough to fell a monster. But what good was that if he couldn't save his friend from dying at his side? The chamber stank of ichor and spores, the silence heavy as stone.
I have to find a way. I have to.
He clenched his jaw. Chapter 50. Breaking Through. Date: 33,480 second quarter. Chalice Theocracy. Auric slumped against the cold stone wall, breath rattling. His fur was matted dark with blood, the jagged punctures in his side still weeping through Aris's failed healing attempts. Worse, the black veins of disease crept outward like cracks in glass, crawling toward his chest. His yellow eyes, normally sharp and untamed, dulled with each shuddering inhale.
Stay with me.
He whispered, pressing trembling hands against the wound. His palms burned from repeated casting. Healing touch closed skin but couldn't stop the corruption. Cure. Disease sputtered, half-formed, leaving the infection untouched. The magics fought each other like oil and water, refusing to blend.
Think. Think. Think.
His mind whirled. For a month he had tried to combine these two spells in practice, failing every time. But now, kneeling in a web-stinking cavern with Auric's life draining away, failure wasn't an option.
No more splitting focus. One current, one intent.
He gritted his teeth. He closed his eyes, forcing his will to settle. He summoned the warmth of healing touch that green light meant to mend flesh. But instead of releasing it, he wove in the silver thread of cure disease, that cleansing pulse that sought corruption. They bucked against each other at first, clashing violently in his veins, making his chest feel like it might burst. His body screamed at him to let go. But he didn't. He bound them tighter, forcing them together, imagining not two currents but one, a river that mended as it purified, that healed without leaving sickness behind. His body arched, light spilling from his fingertips. And then something clicked. A surge, clean and powerful, coursed through him. Words not his own etched into his mind a whisper of recognition from the system that had shackled this world. Bzzz.
I did it. I combined them. I saved you.
He gasped, eyes snapping open. His hands glowed brighter than ever, light so intense it filled the cavern. He pressed them to Oryx's side. The black veins recoiled instantly, dissolving under the radiance. The wound closed with a hiss, flesh knitting smooth. The corruption fled, burning away until only clean, unbroken skin remained. Oryx's breath steadied. The wolfkin blinked eyes, sharpening life flooding back into them. He touched his side, incredulous. Aris sagged back, exhausted but grinning.
I was sure I was dead.
No, you said I could do it.
I did, but I was dying. Didn't know what I was saying.
They both laughed. Then the sound ragged but real, echoing strangely in the cavern. For a moment, the dungeon's stench and darkness didn't matter.
What a creature. What a creature.
He rose gingerly, testing his weight. His side held firm.
Worth the scars, maybe.
He muttered, stepping toward the massive spider's corpse. Its body still twitched faintly, ichor pooling thick and foul around it. Aris followed, still catching his breath. His gaze lingered on the dead beast.
I wish I could get that XP.
He thought bitterly. The fight had nearly killed them both, and shouldn't that count for something? As if answering his thought, warmth pulsed in his pocket. Aris froze. He reached in, pulling out the witness stone. Its surface shimmered faintly, no longer inert. As he stared, a thin green glow rose from the spider's carcass. It gathered into a stream, coalescing into the stone. The gem drank the light hungrily, glowing brighter with each pulse.
No way.
His mouth fell open.
What is that? What just happened?
He spun ears, twitching.
I found this. In the first dungeon.
He swallowed. His instinct was to hide it, but Oryx had just bled for him. He owed him at least part of the truth.
It unlocks strength I don't normally have. For a day, maybe two.
He said slowly, holding up the witness stone. Its glow pulsed like a heartbeat.
So that's how you beat Sliverstone, and those Fae who cornered you.
Yeah. After that, I tried for weeks to recharge it. Nothing worked. This is the first time I've seen it react to something.
He nodded, gesturing to the spider's corpse still leaking faint green mist. He left out the other truth, that the stone could drink his own excess XP, tallying hidden levels. That secret was too dangerous to share. Not yet. Still, the realization thrilled him.
It can absorb from kills, not just from me, from them. This changes everything.
Even if it only lasts a day, that's an excellent relic, Aris. A gift. Congrats.
He stepped closer, eyes on the gem.
More than a relic. This could be the edge I need.
He nodded, hiding his racing thoughts. They pressed forward, the tunnels winding deeper. The air grew colder, the spores thinning into a brittle dryness. Finally, the path opened into a broad stone chamber. At its center stood two figures. They were human-shaped, but wrong. Their skin gray as stone, eyes glazed and lifeless. They stood motionless like statues waiting for breath.
Replicated slaves. Again.
He remembered the first dungeon, the sleeping locals. The puppet-like creations Realmforge left as obstacles.
Maybe they'll let us pass.
He stepped forward cautiously.
Don't count on it,
he said, but he stayed back. The figures didn't respond at first. They simply stood silent, guarding the far clearing. But the instant Oryx crossed an invisible line, both lifted their arms. A pulse of force erupted from their hands. One shot, invisible but brutal. The other shot, an elemental red wave. It slammed into Oryx, knocking him off his feet and sending him skidding across the stone floor.
Guess this is where we use shields.
They groaned, coughing. Aris froze. His heart hammered. He had no shield, no barrier. All month he'd failed to learn it, failed to open the spell slot he needed. But his gaze fell on his hands. He had forged healing cure. He had created a spell. That meant his mind raced.
If I combined two magics, if I forced a new current into existence, maybe that opened the slot I couldn't reach before. Maybe I can do it now.
He turned to Oryx, who was pushing himself shakily up.
Show me. Show me the shield.
Now?
Yes, I'm gonna learn it. Right here.
His voice was iron. His heart thundered, but his eyes blazed. The stone guardians stirred, their lifeless eyes glowing faintly. The air charged with the hum of another blast building. Aris squared his stance, hands trembling but ready.
Show me.
He repeated. Chapter 51. The Pattern. Date 33,480. Second quarter, Chalice Theocracy. The chamber felt like a tomb. Two stone-bodied figures stood at the far end, humanoid but wrong, like statues carved by someone who had never seen a living man. Their eyes glowed faintly, one a dull blue, the other a deep red. Their arms were raised in silent threat, palms braced outward, as if eternally prepared to strike. Aris's chest tightened. The air itself buzzed with a tension that made his hair stand on end.
Two of them.
He muttered, gripping the witness stone in his pocket as though it might lend him courage.
Too many.
He spat onto the dusty floor, his wolfish features sharp in the dim glow.
Show me the shield, please. I think I can.
Brother, you've tried for a month. Not once have you manifested a proper shield. What makes you think you'll do it now?
He cut him off with a snarl.
Because I feel different. Just trust me.
He swallowed.
I don't want to waste stamina showing you tricks. If one of us has to carry both, it'll be me.
He growled. Before Aris could argue, Oryx strode forward. His blade hung at his side, but his free hand lifted fingers curling into a practiced sigil. A shimmer formed in the air before him, a translucent barrier of light that rippled like heat haze.
Stay behind me. That one's elemental.
He pointed at the red-eyed guardian.
I fought Shadowborn casters all my life. I can take it.
Aris held his breath as Oryx planted his feet. The red-eyed golem moved first, a low hum building in its core. Then a blast of fire and lightning tore through the air, striking Oryx's shield. The barrier wavered but held, dispersing the energy in a spray of sparks. The wolfkin grunted, teeth bared, but stood firm. Aris's eyes widened. In that moment, as he watched, something snapped inside him. Zzz! His mind filled with a rush of knowledge. The shape of the sigil, the pull of mana, the alignment of will with defense. It wasn't copied. It was learned, seared into him as if he'd always known. His theory was right. Creating healing cure had opened the slot he'd lacked.
I can do it. I can.
He breathed. But before he could prove it, the second guardian moved. The blue-eyed one, ignored until now, turned its palm toward them and unleashed a pulse of raw force. It slammed into their flank. Both Oryx and Aris were hurled sideways, crashing against the stone floor. Air ripped from their lungs. Pain bloomed across Aris's ribs like fire. He gasped, coughing, unable to breathe for several seconds. When he finally dragged in air, he saw Oryx struggling up, growling.
We can't just take one at a time. If we don't both shield, the other flanks us.
He croaked. He spat blood onto the stone. Aris shoved himself upright, raising his hand. Light shimmered into existence, a wall of radiance forming before him. Elegant, extremely real.
You're full of surprises, human. Were you hiding this from me?
He froze, eyes wide.
Nope, just learned it. Right now.
He grinned, despite the ache in his chest.
I'll be damned.
The wolfkin let out a short bark of laughter. But the guardians didn't wait. The red one hummed again, elemental energy gathering. The blue raised its palm for another pulse.
One shoots elemental, the other physical. It's a puzzle.
He steadied his breath.
Then we solve it.
He nodded grimly. They moved forward together, shields braced. The guardians fired. The blasts struck one against Oryx's shimmering elemental barrier, the other against Aris's physical defense. For the first time, both held. The force shuddered through them, but they remained standing. Step by step, they advanced.
This is working.
His heart raced. Then, without warning, the guardians switched. The red-eyed one spat a wave of force. The blue-eyed unleashed fire. Aris's physical shield crumpled instantly under the elemental blast, throwing him to the ground with searing pain. Oryx caught mid-switch, couldn't adjust in time. His barrier flickered and the force blast struck him hard, sending him sprawling. Aris hit the stone with a grunt. His vision blurred. His arms screamed where he landed.
Clam it.
He cursed, dragging himself up. Aris forced himself to his knees, summoning healing cure with a shaky gesture. Warmth spread through his ribs, easing the worst of the pain.
We both had to switch. Together.
Easy for you to say. I can't change that fast.
He grunted.
Neither can I. Not really.
He hesitated. His player skill set let him manifest every fifth time. He couldn't reveal that weakness now, so he lied.
I can. I just don't want to waste energy.
You'd better not be bluffing, human.
He shot him a sharp look. The Guardians readied again. Fire sparked. Force hummed.
Every 5th time. That's my limit. I can't afford to miss.
He clenched his jaw. They tried again, stepping forward, switching shields as the blasts came. Once, twice, 3 times they endured. But then the Guardians switched faster. Fire force, fire again. Their timing faltered.
I don't have to keep casting. I just have to change my concentration of the shield. 1 barrier, 2 faces.
A double blast caught them mid-change shields, caught halfway. The impact knocked them both to the ground. Aris's cheek split open against the stone, blood running down his jaw. Auric's shoulders smoked from a partial elemental hit. Pain throbbed in every joint. Aris pressed his glowing hand to his face, sealing the cut, but the ache remained.
We can't keep this up. My stamina's draining fast.
He groaned. He panted, staring at the Guardians. He forced himself to focus. Every switch, every blast. He replayed them in his mind. Fire once, then force again. Then both swapped. Then fire 3 times. His eyes widened.
It's not random,
he whispered.
What?
He blinked at him through sweat and blood.
The switches. There's a pattern. I think it's a sequence.
He said, heart racing. The Guardians fired again. Auric barely raised his shield in time, the blast staggering him. Aris's brain whirled. Numbers sequences. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, the rhythm of it. The Guardians weren't random. They were following Fibonacci.
He nearly laughed. It's Fibonacci.
It's a what?
He coughed, grimacing.
A pattern I studied. Trust me. Just switch when I tell you. Don't hesitate.
He bit his lip. He couldn't say mathematical sequence from Earth without exposing himself.
Fine. I'm out of better ideas.
He studied him for a moment, then nodded. They staggered back to the entry point, shoulders pressed together, shields raised. Aris called out each number as he counted the blasts.
And now.
Fire came. Both switched. Shields held.
Now.
Force struck. They adjusted. The barrier hummed but stood.
Fold now.
Another switch. The Guardians pressed harder, the blasts coming faster, trying to throw off their timing. But Aris's mind burned with clarity. He saw the pattern, the sequence unfurling in his head. His calls came sharp and certain. Auric followed without hesitation. His faith steadied Aris even as doubt clawed at his gut. Each switch landed true. Each blast was met by the right shield. Slowly, step by step, they advanced. Sweat poured down Aris's brow. His arms shook with the strain of holding the barrier. His witness stone pulsed in his pocket, feeding him just enough strength to keep going. Finally, the Guardians faltered. Their eyes flickered. Their blasts sputtered. The sequence ended. The red-eyed one lowered its arm. The blue-eyed followed. Then, as if strings had been cut, both collapsed into lifeless heaps of stone. Silence fell. Aris swayed on his feet, gasping. His barrier flickered out. Auric dropped his own shield, clutching his shoulder chest, heaving. They looked at each other. Despite the blood and bruises, both laughed, half madness, half relief.
We did it,
he said, voice hoarse.
Fibonacci.
He nodded, his grin ragged.
Still don't know what that means, but I'll take it.
He muttered. They staggered forward together past the fallen Guardians into the darkness beyond. Chapter 52, Trial Complete. Date: 33,000 NO480, 2nd quarter, Chalice Theocracy. When they passed, both Guardians had finally beamed out from the dungeon. Their forms human once. They don't want us to examine, Aris thought. The silence that followed was worse than their attacks. It was the silence of an exam over but without certainty that you had passed.
You still alive?
He coughed, spat blood, then managed a crooked grin.
Barely. I think I'll feel those blasts in my bones for the next decade.
Then we passed. Come on. Let's see if this dungeon gives us something better than a headache,
he said, sheathing his blade. They staggered forward together into a smaller sanctum beyond the battlefield. The air changed immediately, thinner, colder tinged with the metallic tang of magic. At the center stood a squat pedestal, and above it floated a crystalline shard glowing faintly blue-white. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, casting skeletal shadows across the wet stone walls.
That's it?
He asked, disappointed.
Looks like it.
He rubbed his jaw. The moment they stepped closer, the shard flared, and a thin whisper burned across Aris's mind. Trial complete. Endurance measured, strength recorded. That was it. No surge of levels, no wave of stats like in old Realmforge days, just cold words and a prize that felt more like a receipt than a reward.
So no treasure chest, no legendary sword, not even a healing potion. Chalice Theocracy sure knows how to inspire loyalty.
He let out a humorless chuckle.
I think the real rewards go somewhere else. They're measuring us, not rewarding us.
He frowned. Before Auric could respond, the chamber shuddered violently. Fissures split the ceiling, sending streams of glowing spores trickling down. The pedestal cracked in half, and the shard winked out, vanishing into the air like smoke.
Oh, perfect. Time to run.
He growled. They sprinted through the corridor, the ground trembling under their boots. Mossy walls split apart. Fungal blooms ignited into strange sparks, lighting their path with unnatural flashes. A chunk of ceiling collapsed just ahead, and Aris threw up his shield on instinct, and the golden dome shimmered long enough to deflect falling rock before snapping away. His lungs burned from the effort.
Keep going,
he shouted, pulling Auric's arm when the wolfkin stumbled. Together they burst into the wide central cavern, gasping as fresh air hit their faces. Waiting in the cavern was the shepherd official, his gray robes glowing faintly in the cavern light. One by one, other first years stumbled in from their own tunnels, bloodied, coughing eyes wide with exhaustion. Some had to be carried by their partners. Others were missing entirely. The chaperone's voice echoed coldly.
C3 complete. Survivors recorded. Step forward.
Aris and Auric obeyed, shoulders heavy but steps steady. Around them whispers spread. They cleared C3. Together. And they walk unscathed. The march back blurred. Templars and priests escorted the first years out of the dungeon through the portal and into the cloaked tent in the capital's center. From outside, muffled sounds of the city pressed in curious voices, shuffling feet. Tradition once celebrated these trials. Aris remembered. Realmforge had made it a parade. Now it was a prison march. When they emerged from the portal into Ivory Gate grounds, the morning sun burned bright, too bright after the dark. Students were herded into neat lines. Some collapsed outright on the grass. Priests moved quickly among them, casting simple heals, their hands glowing faintly. Aris refused their touch and helped Auric hobble back to the dorms.
By the chalice,
came a familiar growl. Rathvos, the meat-headed Templar instructor, pushed through the lines of returning students. His scarred face split into a grin when he saw Aris and Auric.
Well, well. My inconsistent student lived.
Barely.
He snorted weakly.
Barely is enough for now. You impressed me, Aris, again.
He said, clapping him on the shoulder. He jabbed a finger at Aris. Aris managed a crooked smile. Every part of his body screamed in pain, but Rathvos's words planted something else deep in his chest, unease. To be noticed by a Templar here was both compliment and curse.
How many made it?
Don't worry about that now,
he replied. While Rathvos praised them, a group of Fey students gathered nearby, their glares sharp as knives. They surrounded their injured comrade Sliverstone, casting poisonous looks at Aris. He could almost hear their whispers. Favored. Protected. Not natural. Aris took his leave and went back to the library to meet Lyra and look at his stats. But Lyra seemed distant, didn't wave back. Fox came and joined him.
She says keep your distance when people are around. That last job really freaked her out.
He explained.
I understand.
So how was the dungeon? You managed to live in one piece.
I managed to combine healing touch and cure disease. That opened a slot and I managed to manifest a shield.
Combine. Lyra said it is near impossible. Good job, kid, you came along pretty good.
Witness stone worked?
It kinda worked. I didn't get all 36 levels like before, I think, but it jumped me to level 20-ish. I don't really know. My magic seemed more powerful than before, but not as good as the first time I used the stone. But something else happened.
Yeah, what is it?
The stone took energy, or XP, from the killing of the dungeon boss.
Wait, really? That's excellent.
I know, right? And even though the Templar route isn't my first choice, it still can be useful to fill XP.
But how are you going to fill it with XP? There are no zones near here you can quickly take advantage of and come back here.
Lyra came back finally, when everyone cleared.
Sorry, kid. I am keeping distant to protect you. You never know. Congratulations. Surviving second dungeon.
Aris's smile widened.
Why is he smiling like a madman?
She asked Fox.
He's saying he managed to combine spells to open a slot.
No way. Let's take a look.
She said and revealed her machine. With this, we have reached the end of Volume 1 of Legends of the Frozen Game. Thank you for listening.